Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am Sujal and today I am sharing an interesting interview experience that really tested my React skills. So just last week I had an interview with a startup and it was a pretty exciting experience. The vibe was great and the interviewer threw some interesting challenge my way. One of the tasks really stood out and that's what I'll be showing you today. During the machine coding round, they asked me to build an email validation input field. But here's the twist, they wanted me to implement debouncing and write everything completely from scratch. Yep, no inbuilt libraries, no shortcuts. It was all about testing my fundamentals and how I handle real world scenarios without relying on pre made solutions. It was a fun challenge and I learned a lot while solving it. So let's dive into how I tackled this. And hey, stick around till the end to find out, did I ace the round? Did I get an offer from the startup? So now, before we jump into the coding, let's quickly talk about debouncing. Imagine you are trying to talk to someone who keeps interrupting you after every word. Annoying, right? That's what happens when you validate input after every keystroke. Debouncing is like, hey, let me finish typing first. It waits for you to pause for a bit, in our case, 0.5 second or 500 ms, before checking if the email is valid or not. This keeps things smooth and efficient. So guys, let's write the code. Okay, so before writing the code, I'll be mentioning my topic of the video. So here in the AMD file, I'll write email validation using the bouncing concept. Okay, so now let us make one file that is inside components, that is email validation.jsx. okay, after that I have to write rafce. Okay, and inside this I have to also mention my component, that is email validation. Okay, so let me close this, and now in this file I have to write my logic. Right here I'm thinking to validate the email, like first of all I have to make a state which will store the email, that is email set email. After that I'll write use state hook and I'll keeping in initially it is a empty string, and for validating the email I'll also create one state, and I would say is valid or set is valid. All right, and initially I'll keep this state as a false. Okay, now I have to make one input field which will get an email, right? So which will accept the email. So what I'll write here is input type will be email, right? And after that I'll write like placeholder enter your email address. Okay, after that I'll write the value, because value is very important inside the input field, and after that the on change, and first of all I'll get the event, and inside after the event I'll write set email and e dot target dot value. Okay, so now let's check whether it is showing in the. Okay, so here you can see I can see like I can write in the input field. Okay, but I have not implemented the validation logic. So now let's validate the input or email field. Now first of all I'll write a logic to validate the email. I'll write a simple function that will validate the email. So I'll write a function to validate the email. Okay, now I'll write const what the name of the function will be, like validate email. Okay, so this will take an email parameter, and this is an arrow function. So first of all I'll check, like if there is no email exist, then I would say return false. And in this kind of project or the small task, first of all you have to think of like what is the different kind of scenario that we have to tackle, right? So in this case of email, we have to tackle the two scenarios, that is the position of @ and the position of dot, right? So first of all, we have to get the position of the @ index and dot index. And we know that in every email, @ should not come in the very first position. It should always come after the very first, like after one position, right? Like not in the zeroth position, but in it can be possible, like we can write in the 1th position. Okay, so here first of all, I'll try to get the position of @ right? So I'll write const at index equals to email dot what index of @ right? So here I'll get the index of @, and after in the same way I'll try to get the index of dot. So I'll write const dot index equals to email dot what last index of I'll write dot. Okay, so now I have to return simple some simple condition. And we know that @index should not come in the very first position, right? So we have to write @index should always come after the 0th position, right? So I'll write 0, @index should always be greater than 0, and the dot index. Now dot index should always come after the @index position, like after @index plus 1 position, because the both @index and dot index should not come in an adjacent manner, like not the @index should be in 1st position and dot index in the 2nd position. No, this is not valid. If the @index is at 1th position, then the dot index should always come in the 3rd position, not in the 2nd position, right? So we have to add one more check, like dot index it should always be greater than what @index plus 1. Okay, and one more condition, that is the dot index should not come in the end. Okay, so we have to write the email dot length length property -1. Okay, so this will return if the email is valid according to this condition. So now I'll write the debouncing concept here. Now using the use effect hook, I'll run only when the email gets changed. So in the dependency array, I mentioned the email, right? Now for every timeout, I'll get the unique ID, right? So for that, we will keep it inside the debounce ID variable. So I'll write debounce ID equals to what set timeout function, and I want this must run after 500 millisecond. Okay, so I'll write 500, and after that, so whatever the validate email will give, so I'll store it in the email check variable, that is const email check equals to what validate email, and I'll pass the email as a parameter. Okay, so whatever the result it will get from the email validate email function, it will store in the email check, and then after that I will put the set is email function, and whatever the result it will have in the email check, I'll keep it inside the set is email valid function. Okay, so this will generate the new ID. Okay, and it will be stored in the debounce ID. So whatever the result the validate email will give, I'll keeping it inside the set is email valid. Okay, after that I have to clean that particular debounce ID. I have to clear the timeout on component unmount or when email changes, right? So I have to write a small cleanup function, that is return and clear timeout and what debounce ID. Okay, so this will help me to implement the debounce logic. Okay, now I have to also write the error message. Okay, for that I have to write here, that is, if it is valid, sorry, the spelling is not correct, valid. Okay, now it's correct. So I'll copy this and paste it here. If it is, not valid, and and if the email exists, and then the paragraph, I'll show the error in paragraph, and I will write enter a enter a valid email email address. Okay, so in this way you can validate the email address using the debouncing concept. Okay, so now let's see whether it is working or not. Wait, so here you can see this is the input field, which will check the email is valid or not. So suppose I'm writing SUJAL. Here you can see enter a valid email address. So let me give a small style such that I can identify it is error or not. So I'll write the color and the red. Okay, so it is now it is coming in a red, right? Now let's test. Okay, so Sujal at the rate gmail sorry gmail.com. Okay, see, till I write the full email, it, the error gone, because we have validated the email properly. So in this manner you can build a small validation check using the debouncing concept to validate the email. So this is the pretty much small code. So I'll be pushing this code in my GitHub, so you can get the code from my GitHub. I'll be mentioning the GitHub URL of mine in the description box, so you can get the code from there. Okay, so now let me tell you, like, whether I cracked the interview or not. So yes, I cracked the, that round. I cracked the round, and yeah, I got an offer. So bye bye. If you have any query, then let me know in the comment section. I'll, clear all the queries. So okay, bye bye, have a nice day.